So just final question again. This goes back to the vertical that you and I are part of, cybersecurity, right? Which is
Mm.
there are a lot more outspoken leaders talking about diversity and inclusion and equity in the cybersecurity workplace. But just purely again, given your focal role and the number of people you talk to on this, purely from a business sense, right? Even if you're not talking about anything else, right? And this is what we talked about last week: is how do you explain to a CFO, how do you explain to the CISO, in terms of by having an inclusive workplace where people can thrive, you will
Okay.
actually lower the overall risk of your organization by allowing people to do their best. So, how, I mean, what success have you had in terms of how you explain the need for DEI to actually reduce cybersecurity or to reduce risk and increase your cybersecurity
So,
effectiveness?
so here's the thing. There are so many proven metrics that show that. They show that more gender balanced boards produce higher EBIT, higher bottom line profitability, that show that um, when you have a development team and you include the people that are going to be affected by what's being developed, then you're going to have more success. There are so many horror stories out there of when it's gone horribly wrong. Like the first Apple Watch,
Yep.
which didn't work for women because nobody noticed that women have periods and therefore our body is affected. Or the Amazon algorithm for hiring that didn't
Yep.
take account of 10 years worth of data that was mainly male hires, and the AI went, oh, you must want men, and started discriminating against women and removing them from the recruitment pool. There are loads of stories like that, which just shows that when you get it wrong, it's expensive and embarrassing, often publicly embarrassing. But that's not what I want to focus on. I don't want to focus on if you get it wrong, it's going to be horrific for you.
Mm-hmm.
What I want to focus on is what's the why? The
Yep.
why would you do this? And it boils down to something really simple as far as I'm concerned. Our industry only has two jobs. Everything in our industry works for two things. Either it's creating new stuff, innovation, or it's protecting the stuff we've created. So being resilient against threat or risk in a board, or protecting against attack if you're one of those kind of people. In both cases, you don't want groupthink as your option. You don't want everybody's going to have the same idea and we haven't got a balanced set of ideas around the table. If you're innovating, you want loads of different ideas, that we want people pinging off each other and go, yes, we could do that. And how about this as well? Don't you?
Yep. Absolutely.
Resilient. Well, you know the book, The Art of War, Sun Tzu,
Yes.
older
Yeah.
than the Bible.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's a well-regarded book. It's still being taught in Westminster.
Yeah.
Sun Tzu, to paraphrase, said, if you want to defeat an attacker, you need to be able to think like them. Attackers don't come in just one flavor.
Yeah.
So if we want to even be resilient against attack, we need lots of different people around the table. So we need different experiences around the table. We need different backgrounds around the table. We need different neurologies, neurotypes around the table. You know, nothing is hardwired to think differently, like somebody that literally has a different sort of way of thinking in their brain. So that's hardwired difference, experiential difference, differences in gender, differences in sexuality, all of those differences put together is like your beautiful garden. Everything works together in harmony.
Yeah.
And from a board's point of view, it's a strategic advantage if you've got differences of thought. The challenge is that the decision-making process is slightly longer because you have friction. The more difference in thought you have, the more care you have with people caring about their version of what the answer might be, more friction in the room there might be. But flat seas never made a good sailor. And a little bit of storm in that boardroom, I can guarantee you, will mean people will be more passionate about the outcome. You'll get more ideas. You'll get more options. You'll get more people going, hey, what about this risk? Which lets you mitigate it, and you'll be stronger. So, you know, if you look around a boardroom as a business leader and everybody looks like you or sounds like you or agrees with you, you're not making your company as strong as it could be. You're not giving yourself the best advantages. If you're not actively hiring in an equitable way to say, actually, although my natural preference is for a cookie cutter person, just like the old FD or just like the old CEO or just like, then I need to fight against that natural preference, because actually a little bit of friction, a little bit of storm is a good thing for a company not to stagnate. Calm water is stagnant water as far as business goes. So you need to introduce fresh flow, and that looks like diversity.
Yeah, I mean, it's great thoughts. I think you're absolutely right, right? Just the ability for the shift to happen to people to realize. I mean, to your point about, it is uncomfortable for somebody who's grown up with yes men and yes women. It's you to be able to have people stand up there and say, I don't think that makes sense. I have a different perspective, and to have longer meetings to have that healthy debate. I think it's a cultural shift, but I can imagine so many times you actually want to go into those meetings because you know you're going to have a honest conversation coming out of it. People feel more energized and more included, right? So
but diversity isn't a cakewalk. You have to think about what you're doing. You have to look at the things that you've always done and go, if I do the things that I've always done, I'm going to get the output I've always got. So when you look at your recruitment, for example, are you doing the same recruitment that you did 5 years ago and going, hey, come and join us, we've got free lemonade and free donuts and a free gym? Or are you going, actually, I want to recruit some people that maybe want something different, so want enhanced healthcare, or they want to be able to have more flexible working, or they might want a welcome mat that says we are actively welcoming applicants that are neurodivergent. Because trust me when I say the standard, we only hire from a point of equity and diversity, and we do not discriminate at all, through the legal stuff that people put at the bottom of stuff. Anybody that is neurodivergent is going to see that as a tick box exercise to cover yourself legally. It's not a welcome mat. A welcome mat looks different. A welcome mat is at the top of the description. A welcome mat looks the same place as your gym membership. A welcome mat is in the same space as your donuts. A welcome mat looks like this. It might say, we welcome neurodivergent applicants, and typically have a range of accommodations that we are comfortable making and have made many times, including flexible working arrangement, flexible travel, tailoring your environment to give you the maximum opportunity to thrive. Whatever you put in there, what it says to somebody is, this company is likely to be a friendly landing spot. And even if they haven't got it all right now, they are clearly willing to work with their team members to get them the right water, food, light, and all the other stuff that this particular plant needs to grow. And so that's what would be different. And I think I've maybe seen that once ever. Think about how many job descriptions are out there.
I've never seen.
Never seen that. And then the other thing that you very rarely see, although that's maybe getting a bit better, is splitting out the nice to haves from the essentials. Like you've got somebody coding. Is it really essential that they're a team player and able to interact with people? Is it really essential that they've got the social skills of a talk show host? Or is it more essential that for that job that they've got the core skills of being able to code and being able to recognize the patterns in the code and be able to come up with ideas to solve technical issues that other people might miss? What's essential for that job? So there's even separating out what is truly essential versus, and it might be nice to have, but we will train for these extra things. By the way, that's not just neurodivergent people that would tend to be quite literal in what's essential and not apply if they don't have those things. It's also typically women. So if you're struggling to get more women into your organization, then typically that's a really good starting point, is just looking at those job descriptions and taking out the stuff that's essential versus the stuff that we've always put in because somebody told us it was the right thing to do once. And we do really stupid things based on habit, really dumb things when we're recruiting based on habit, like not having a mixed interview panel.
Yeah.
Like not maybe doing a bias test so you can mitigate your own biases that you might have, which is really easy. You just go to Harvard bias test. It's really easy online for free to run your job advert through an algorithm where it says this is gender biased towards male applicants or female.
Mm-hmm.
It's free.
Yeah.
You can do gender bias test, or you know, and it will find those kind of things. So you know, this isn't. It's actually quite easy to get better than you are today. And you know, if every business made small incremental changes to their recruitment process, that's a good start point. And then to their onboarding process, and then to all their other processes. But once you've got somebody or a group of people on board, then they can help you with what it is that they need to thrive. And that's the other thing that's in First Break All the Rules, because it talks about that the best managers have conversations with their team about what their team need, and then they try and enable that to happen. And again, that sounds like real rocket science, but really it's just
no, it's amazing. I think the tips that you kind of provided just to kind of get started, right? I think it's a great. So again, well, I know this is always going to be a deep and meaningful conversation. Hopefully, the viewers and listeners not only enjoy it but also take some action based on this. I know I am, right? So thanks for your time, Nicola.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's such a pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you.